Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Thursday, December 4th, and, I've been kind of in a bad mood, Jamie. People have been making me upset about this playoff thing, and it's not that people think Notre Dame should be out. That is what it is. People have their opinions on that, and that's totally fine. But I'm kind of done with the whole thing about everyone's just kind of trashing on Notre Dame. And please understand what kind of a football team this is and how good they are. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the fact that Notre Dame is, in fact, a top 5 football team in college football this year. And if it's your desire to see a top 5 football team exit the tournament, then that's great. But that's exactly what you're doing. And so, and by the way, this is all kind of publicly available information that people could research for themselves and educate themselves on exactly what the college football landscape is this year. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So that's going to be the bulk of the show today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you hear, hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know whenever it is we are going live. Links to our podcast are in the description below. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. He is Chicago's go-to for the best custom suits, shirts, and sport coats. It is the season of gifting and giving. ESQ is here to help get you, your husband, father, son, nephew, and even that unlikable uncle some style for the holidays. Known for their next-level craftsmanship using the finest fabrics, ESQ has introduced a 100% Pima cotton T-shirt to go along with his award-winning bamboo dress shirt, available for purchase online. They've got showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka. Book your custom fitting at esqclothing.com and step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD at your appointment or use the code ISD at checkout and receive 10% off your entire purchase. Really quickly, we got some questions about Teddy Jarard yesterday on the show and about reclassification. That was something that was bubbling, simmering. And then the fine folks, the Matt Freemans, the Christian McCollums at ISD, they did some efforting to find out. That is, in fact, a thing that is in the works. And I think, in my opinion, I think that's going to happen. I think Teddy Jarard's going to be in the 2026 class. So if that comes to fruition, we'll talk about it more. We'll break down his film and all those other things. I do think he's a good quarterback. I think he fits what Notre Dame is kind of better than Noah Grubbs does. They're different style of quarterbacks and things of that nature. He would be reclassifying. I do believe he's of age, though. Like his age is kind of that of he could be a high school senior right now from an age standpoint. So really quickly, Teddy Jarard, what are your thoughts on him?
Well, I mean, I like him, and I do think I totally agree with you that he's more of a stylistic fit for what Mike Denbrock likes to have usually in his quarterback. I think he's a better athlete than Noah Grubbs. I think it's one of these things where he's already older, so it's not like it's a little bit different with the reclassifying. Like let's be honest too. Like if you went back in time, like Jimmy Clausen probably should have reclassified based on like him being older and all that too. So I don't really think that is as big of a deal. And also to the fact that he's reclassifying, but like wouldn't have to play. Mm-hmm. Like he's not going to play. Like it's, obviously CJ Carr is going to be the quarterback. So he just has the time to develop and like learn the system. He essentially gets that redshirt year, much like Carr had the redshirt year.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be the thing.
Also, then, this 5 for 5 thing is also coming down the pike too, which is somewhat relevant.
Yeah. I will say that I don't think he's like I think he's a very good prospect, but I don't think he's like I would put him on the same par as Carr at the same point. So like if I was just gonna just look at him, and I'll revisit his film and everything again too, but I would put him like kind of like slightly below that, but he's a very, very good prospect.
I forgot I was muted. Yeah, I mean, he's just like I think the mobility is good. I think he's very good in the RPO game. Like he gets the ball out.
Very good, yes.
Yeah, he gets the ball out very quickly. He's got kind of like he can manipulate his arm a little bit, and that's also good. I think he's got a dynamic kind of play style as well, which is nice. You know, like
improv,
yeah,
escape the pocket, like which is there's so many. If you think about it, with so many of these guys, there's so much hidden value in that. Obviously, you want a guy to just be like incredible from the pocket and like making decisions and stuff too. But if you have that extra value, like it's huge, right? That is so massive. And you look at like most of the top quarterbacks in football, like not just college football, like in football, like NFL, college football, whatever. That's a big part of their game, a huge part of their game.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting if it comes to fruition. We're going to have to continue to monitor. But Ira Sports Daily believes it is under very serious consideration. And I think that there's a good chance that it actually happens. So stay tuned on that. There was a question early on from Isaac K. If you're Pete Bavacqua, how are you reacting to the ACC trying to sabotage Notre Dame every waking hour of the day?
If I'm Pete Bavacqua, I'm looking at squeezing the ACC for every single thing possible after this and not doing anything to help them out. There's a partner. Don't consider them a partner basically anymore. Like, you got all your other sports, but like, okay. So like if Notre Dame gets left out this year, I don't think it's to the point where they have to say like, oh, we're that's it. We're going to the Big Ten and that's it. Like, I don't think that is something that needs to happen. But I think the ACC, like, it's really just so stupid because basically, like, while you're surviving in this moment right now, and they're trying to survive during this time until the grant of rights end for Florida State and Clemson. They did that big lawsuit or whatever that got them. They're going to get out early, right? Although, hey, you better start playing better football soon, right? But like, but they did that to try to kind of change that, and I don't know, maybe even start their own conference if they don't get invited to the mega SEC. I don't even think that there's right now I don't even know if anyone would even be interested in adding more to anything, just the way that it's blown up, unless it was just one team and it was Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Like Notre Dame is the only team out there that it's like, yeah, okay. Like we'll do it and we'll give you full share right away and all that kind of stuff. And, I know that Notre Dame doesn't want to do that. And I know that Notre Dame, like, they got to start playing more hardball with the ACC in terms of what they're agreeing to. And if they don't get what they want, they got to like screw the ACC back any way possible, because it really is a joke how they've just made it all about like the whole thing too, right? Like, I mean, I read the first like couple paragraphs of it, and then I was like, okay, Bruce Feldman, I don't need you to go on your rant about your alma mater about how they're getting screwed here, but like, just go and like, no one goes after none of these people. They're not going after BYU. They're not going after Oklahoma. They're not going after Alabama. Like, they're not going after any of that. Like, they're not making it a thing about anything. They've just made it about Notre Dame, and that's it. And the reality of it is they should be fighting for Notre Dame and Miami to get in. That's what you should do. Also, change your friggin' rules so Duke isn't in the ACC championship game. All this kind of stuff. Like, that's what they should be focused on. And I mean, I don't know anything really about like Jim Phillips, the commissioner. I don't think like, I think he got put in a bad situation. Like, he took over at a time when it's like, yeah, the ACC is kind of falling apart, and it's like, it's not like he's Larry Scott and he's the reason the ACC fell apart, or the Pac-12 fell apart, right? Like, that's not the thing with Jim Phillips. But you got to do a better job, man. Like you got to do a better job because where they're at right now is like, I'll say that the Big 12 guy, Brett Yormark, has done a tremendous job of just like selling the Big 12 as a legitimate conference, even though it is not a legitimate conference. Like it is clearly like it should be like number 4 out of the Power 4 and really not even a power because it's like it's basically AAC plus. And yet it is now past the ACC. Like that is on Jim Phillips. That is on Jim Phillips.
I think, yeah, like you make a good point. Like, why aren't they like they weren't trashing Alabama. They weren't trashing BYU. They immediately went after Notre Dame. And you, like you said, and what we talk about here, by the way, Miami has played like a playoff caliber team this year, more so than a lot of the other teams, BYU specifically. But they came at Notre Dame, and like I don't know about the hardball situation. What I would do, I mean, if from a football standpoint, like Marcus Freeman, like we're taking no knees. We're not taking knees. We're not pulling players. Like it to me, it's not something you do at like Stanford because they don't really have anything to do with it.
No, not Stanford.
But like because it's your in season too. But like you go into every year, like these ACC teams, like
Pitt, Wake Forest, Virginia, whatever. Yeah,
everybody they're paying for this. Like they're going to pay for this, and your conference is going to pay for this every single time. And if someone said like, "Hey, you ran up the score" or whatever, I would like that. Maybe they should tweet about it, put up a graphic about it. Like I would reference it all the time.
How about a graphic too about how Notre Dame has dominated the ACC, like during this whole period, like it dominated them. Like absolutely dominated them. And also the fact that, or how about just pointing out that Florida State whooped Alabama and Miami beat Florida State.
Yeah.
I've not seen one mention of that. Like, there's nothing there. Like they don't put anything about that. Or that, Georgia's supposed to be so good that yet they barely beat Georgia Tech. Why isn't Georgia Tech? Like, there's none of that. All they've done is focus on Miami this whole time.
Like, focus on Notre Dame, yeah.
Focus on Miami versus Notre Dame. Like, they haven't done any of that. And frankly, they haven't even done a good job of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that hard. Like you said, the stuff is publicly available. You can find better stats to back it up.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't.
Yeah, it's a little bit it's a little juvenile, frankly. It's interesting too, because like, Mario Cristobal was up on the podium, kind of going after Notre Dame's schedule. It's interesting because like if you look at the top 25 beyond Notre Dame, Miami's schedule is not represented. And like, I mean, what, like there was like, oh, they've played 2 elite teams and lost both. What was the other elite team that Miami played?
Yes, none.
Like you could make the case, like, everyone's talking about Texas. Well, we played a game that we didn't have to play. Notre Dame didn't have to play Texas A&M. I mean, they didn't have to do that. They could have played. Like, so I think, like, if Notre Dame had played Auburn this year, I mean, they could still like schedule Arkansas, right? Arkansas very easily could have been a 8-4 type team, 7-5 type team. Like, and they have a good offense. You'll see it later. Like, so like Notre Dame put themselves out there to lose a lot more than Miami did in terms of like the schedule. Like they didn't play an elite team. So I don't, to me, that's like a weird thing for them to say. But
and the strength of schedule is like, I just looked at, the SP plus strength of schedule, which I don't think that's the one that, the committee uses, whatever, who knows, strength of schedule. It's one of these things. And to be honest, it's the difference between like the 20th strength of schedule and then the 44th strength of schedule is literally just like you played one tougher opponent. That's it. That is the difference between that. That's why strength of schedule is kind of weird, because it's like the scheduling, it just could be based on luck, like that it happened that way. But like Miami is 40th in strength of schedule, Notre Dame is 44th.
Yeah.
Like that's not what are we talking about
Let's
here?
get a difference of like one win. Like if Arkansas had beaten like one of those close games that they had played, it's like now it's different.
That's basically
like
what it is.
Arkansas is the same caliber of opponent, So here's the deal. All right, we're gonna go over first of all, my guy Uyeyama, my guy Jamie, just absolutely bringing the knowledge. This is good stuff. But by the way, before we bring this up, so I'm gonna bring it up. These are your pillars to a championship team. All right, these are all the things that you feel like the championship team. And when did you put this together? So I don't want this to be like, oh, he came up with this arbitrary list. When did you put this together?
Because there's some random guy that I had muted already that accused me. He actually accused me of.
Oh, I'm sure.
Bias.
I'm sure he did.
Yes.
So you said you came up with in 2023.
So 2023, yeah.
Was Notre Dame involved in the college football playoff at the time?
No, they were not.
They were not. Okay.
This was basically in response to TCU getting boat raced beyond boat raced. It basically like they'd never had a chance. Like it was like one of those things. It's like, hey, congrats on beating Michigan in overtime. You were bound to get kicked in this. And so I just went back and it wasn't even trying to look at these specific categories or anything. And I added the top 10 in QBR, right? Because I looked back on it. That's not from the original, but basically like I looked at like, well, where did all the champions rank in OF plus, which is combined FEI and SP plus? Where did they all rank at DF plus? So where's the line, right? Where's the line? I looked at like, you got to have a good O-line. How many of them are like actually nominated for, you don't have to be a Joe. There's only 3 that become the Joe Moore Award finalists, but there's like 10 or 12 or whatever that are the Joe Moore Award semifinalists. So it's like, yeah, you have one of the better offensive lines in the country. So and then I looked at QBR because I've been using that more because I looked at like, wow, like I can't believe how many of the guys, it's like, you have to, guys who've won that, you have to have a level of quarterback play. And it was always the thing with Notre Dame, because everyone is just looking at it just as my job of, trying to look at, well, what Notre Dame needs. And everyone say, well, if they just got a quarterback, right? It was like, if they had Trevor Lawrence or they had Deshaun Watson, then Notre Dame's going up. It's like, well, no, it's not just as simple as that. They do need the quarterback, but they need these other things too. So that's how I came and looked through, all this. And it was like, these were the most things in common. And and obviously the blue chip ratio, that is Bud Elliott thing that he had done. Right, so I'm like, that just seems like an automatic to include right there. So over 50%. And then, net points per drive, 1.47. That's the lowest one. That was the 2016 Clemson, which they were technically the worst team to win a national championship in terms of like being dominant. But net points per drive is just basically like, how dominant are you like on offense and defense, right? So, and then havoc rate, for those who don't know what havoc rate is, it's all of the negative plays you create, tackles for loss, passes defensed, interceptions, and forced fumbles divided by the number of plays that you do. And I looked at all the champions and I'm like, well, where's their havoc? I'm like, wow, this is a pretty high havoc rate for all these guys. And then obviously I've always been like explosive passing. It's pretty important. Like it's one of those things that it's there. And I will say there's been less of the explosive because Michigan obviously won without as much explosive passing, and there's been less of that. So maybe that will be a thing that changes, and maybe there'll be something else that's added in. But this is just what I found in 2023, and then it just continued on. And essentially you have to check most of these boxes if you're a real contender.
Yeah. So you can just go through the list here of what the teams have, right? So Indiana and Ohio State. Ohio State has 5 of the 8. Indiana has 6 of the 8. Georgia has 4. Texas Tech has 4. Oregon has 6. Ole Miss has 3. Texas A&M has 4. Oklahoma has 3. Alabama has 2.
2.
This is a low-key thing when you actually look into it. Alabama kind of stinks. Notre Dame has 5. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a yes, but it's not in bold. Notre Dame has 6.
Oh, yeah, 6, yeah.
Notre Dame has 6. BYU has nunzo.
None. 0.
Nunzo. And Miami has 4. So comments on this.
So, and somebody asked me to look at it too. Hey, interesting one. Where does Vandy and Texas rank? Texas 2, by the way. So they haven't played at a level where I understand. Yes, they played a tough schedule. They, whatever. Well, the reason that they're not in it is because they didn't play good enough against just even the crappy teams they played against. Like, you have to play at a certain level. They haven't played at a championship level. They haven't. And it's, have they gotten better? Yeah, sure, they've gotten better, but they haven't played at a championship level throughout the season. And Vandy actually is 4. They're 4 of 8. So they're in that middle, that ground there. They probably should be considered around where like Oklahoma, and Ole Miss and all of that. They should be considered there. I get it. The reason why the rankings went as they did for the SEC is that Alabama beat Vandy pretty convincingly, and Oklahoma just beat Alabama on the road. And that's why those are there.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is that if Alabama had won that game, Notre Dame would be in safely, and then Miami probably gets in too.
Yeah.
They probably end up getting in too. But that's the thing that kind of screwed everything there. But basically, if you're looking at this, the chances of a team winning, it was, because the whole idea was that if you're TCU, you really don't have a shot, because it hasn't worked that way in this era, the modern era of college football, where there is haves and have-nots. And you can say what you want about Indiana and say like, well, they haven't recruited at that level, so they're not over the 50% blue chip ratio. But look how they've played. They've played at a championship level this year. And I know their schedule is not the toughest, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. They've played at that level. And Ohio State, not quite as good as they were last year. One of the things is O-line, right? They're still close. But Oregon, also close, right? 6 of 8. Notre Dame, 6 of 8. But then when you're talking like 4 and down, it's like Georgia. That's why Georgia won't win. Like, Georgia's not in the top 15 in defense. How does that happen with all they've recruited? And Kirby Smart is this. They're not that level. Also, their O-line, they get dude after dude. They're not that good on the O-line. And those were givens on the previous thing. Also, explosive passing was like a huge thing for them during that whole time, like the Stetson Bennett, whatever. If you go back to their championship teams, they're one of the reasons I looked at it, because obviously they played TCU, because they were like top everything. They were dominant. They were so dominant. And that's the same thing with Bama, is that they were like Bama, like, I talk about a drop off from Saban, and you can say like, okay, it's talent and all that. They just haven't played at that level where they're at that level. And even Texas Tech, right? Like, where you could see, okay, like, they don't have the quarterback. They don't have the quarterback for it. So if they do it, they'd have the worst quarterback to win. He's like ranked in the 30s in QBR. That'd be the worst quarterback to win a national championship during the college football playoff era. Like, or the worst one since what's his face from Bama, the kid who transferred from Florida State.
Bama from Florida State, the quarterback.
Yes. The guy before Hurts. Anyways, their whole team was dominant except for the quarterback.
Yeah.
He was just a guy. But basically, Bama checked all those other boxes except the quarterback.
Yeah.
So you can't have all these other things like everybody else is like, and here's the other thing. So 2017, since 2017, because 2017 is like another like important cutoff, because 2016 was the last like very good, not great team to win it, was the Clemson, right? With Watson. Well, 2017, from that point on, all the teams were great. Every single one of them, top 4 in net points per drive, dominant, right? Like, so that means they dominated. They were dominant teams. Jake Coker, thank you, Jake Paulus.
Yep.
Jake Coker, that's who it is. And if you look at 2017 in terms of quarterbacks, so 8 years, 32 teams in the top 4, 29 have been in the top 10 in QBR out of those 32 quarterbacks. Like, that's a pretty high percentage of guys that you have to have that to get to that level. And is it surprising at all that Notre Dame, like, or that you didn't, the 3 teams that had quarterbacks that didn't have quarterbacks that were ranked there, they all lost. They never made it to the final. So that's when you look at it and it's like, how are some of these teams going to do it? Who is there actually, if they get in, who actually has a chance to win it? And I know that shouldn't be the only criteria. It shouldn't be, right? Because you have to play the games. Obviously, I'm not saying that you shouldn't value the games, but it would just be truly insane to not include a team that legitimately has a better chance to win it than, like, they're in the Notre Dame is in the top 4. They're also in the top 4 of net points per drive, by the way, which is that cutoff since 2017. Mm-hmm. All teams in the top 4 of that. So it's them, Texas Tech, Ohio State, and Indiana. Those are the teams in the top 4.
And so, like, these are the metrics that the committee uses that you kind of put together, like relative scoring offense, relative total offense, yards per point, points per play, points per drive, and then basically the inverse for the defense, right? Yeah. So Notre Dame is top on relative scoring offense, 148%. Alabama, 145%. BYU, 134%. Miami, 132%. Oklahoma, 114%. So here's the thing, right? Like, when you look at this, Oklahoma is clearly of this group the worst offense.
Like, not even close. Yeah.
Of this group, Notre Dame is clearly the best offense.
Yeah.
The best, and not just like clearly, because like when you go to defense, like they're not top, but the defense is a lot closer, right? So a lot of these teams have defenses that are comparable to each other. None of these teams have offenses that are comparable to each other. None of them. And before anyone gets into this garbage about like this freaking red herring, like non sequitur, but the schedule, these are all opponent adjusted. Yeah. Like, all yards are not the same. When you get to so we're going to talk about game scores and game ratings in a second, right? That is opponent adjusted. If you average 400, if you have 400 yards of offense and 6 yards per play against Arkansas, that is going to be rated differently than 400 yards and 6 yards per play against Oklahoma. Right? That's how it works. That's how it works with you adjust for opponent. People have thought of these things. All right. So that the schedule part of this is irrelevant. It's not relevant. Okay. It's all factored in. Okay. So Notre Dame has the top relative total offense, the top yards per point, the top points per play, top points per drive of the people grouped together: Miami, Alabama, Oklahoma, BYU. So this is why when you see something like, well, Notre Dame, how could they be ranked above X team? This is why. This is what the committee looks at. This is the answer to the question. Now, if you say that one result in week 1 that was a difference of 3 points should outweigh all of this, then great, make that argument. But what you're doing is you're arguing against a team that has played better over the course of the entire season than the rest of these teams. When you go down to defense, okay, relative scoring defense, lower is better. So the lowest is better. So you've got Miami first here, then you have Oklahoma, then you have Notre Dame. So we're talking about a difference of 79.6 for Notre Dame and 73.8 for Miami. BYU is last. Alabama is fourth on that list. Relative total defense, 58% for Notre Dame, 50% for Miami, 65% for Alabama, 51%. So it's the same kind of deal, right? Miami and Oklahoma are kind of bordering on the best defenses of this group, and then it's Notre Dame third. Okay, so this is why I kind of say, like, Miami's offense in this group that we're talking about is second to Notre Dame, and Miami's defense is first to Oklahoma and Notre Dame, right? This is why my thing is like Miami has played more like a playoff caliber opponent, as playoff caliber team, than the other teams in this cohort, which is why I would think like Alabama and BYU are kind of getting the like preferential treatment in a way that is like, people talk about Notre Dame's brand. The brand that's getting the bump is Alabama, because they're the ones who just have not played that caliber of football. Your thoughts on what you've got here?
I mean, and I think if you're looking at this, I think what I would say is like the thing that you can take away from it, which, you know, should be obvious, is that Notre Dame clearly a cut above all of these other offenses. Defensively, Miami and Oklahoma, the two best. Notre Dame slightly behind. And that's kind of where, you know, they're just slightly behind, and yet they have a much better offense. So I get it. You can argue all these kind of things, but like, if I'm Miami and I'm looking at this, and I understand they're going to argue the head-to-head, why are you not all guns blazing on Oklahoma being a fraud? And because look at you compared to Oklahoma. You have basically the same defense as them.
Yeah.
And your offense is significantly better. Like, the thing that really stands out to me is on offense, but I would say this too, like on offense, 97% for Oklahoma relative total offense, below average. So I understand they play tough defenses, but they were below average of what those defenses gave up. And that's just right there. And forget about the fact that, like, if you look at, like, one of the things, which is why relative total offense, I think, is kind of like, maybe don't use this. Did you know that Notre Dame got less total yards than Syracuse gives up in the game? Because they scored on these other things and they only had X amount of plays, right? Which is why you should do probably relative per play offense, or relative, you know, per drive scoring or whatever, right? Is why you should do that instead of that, because it's not really, and it also doesn't take into account garbage time, which also, shout out Brian Freemo, who, like, obviously that's how I got the points per drive from, right? The points per play was just, there's like another site that has it. I can't remember the site off the top of my head, but I'll shout them out later. But points per drive, and obviously there's so much stuff that Brian Freemo does in terms of taking out the garbage time and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Like just even the just stupid arguments, like the one thing I saw with Feldman was like, well, they've had the common opponents and this and that. It's like, well, look at that chart about the garbage time, and then the scores there, and then the scoring looks different. There, but you wouldn't know that because you're old school journo who's just talking to strength coaches and getting stuff for your freaks list. Like, do some work, man. Do some work. It's not hard for these guys to do work. Put in a little bit of extra work. It's all there for you. Like, there's so much good information out there from guys like Bride Fremo and Bill Connolly and Bud Davis and Parker Flammang and a million other guys who just like pop up and do work and put in stuff. And they are doing all this math for everyone. And guess what? It is great. It is fantastic that is available. I use all of these guys as resources for what I write all the time because I'd be dumb not to. Like, it's all there for you. There's so much stuff opponent adjusted where they take out things. They do all this work for you that you won't be able to find in other places. And I mean, there is this kind of stuff too for like the NFL and NBA and all this kind of stuff. There's all these analytics out there, and that's great too. But like, these guys are really doing just outstanding work. Use it. And when you look at that kind of stuff, it's pretty undeniable in terms of how Notre Dame has played that they are one of the best teams in the country. And not just, and when I say one of the best teams in the country, I mean one of the best 4 or 5 teams in the country. Like, no doubt.
It's also annoying too, because like you hear so much about like ball knowing, like that kind of thing. It's like people who are like, they'll call you like a casual or whatever, right? You go to people like, I don't want to say Feldman because but like his entire career has been covering college football, and you're coming with box scores of common opponent in the final score. There's all this information, and that's what you're giving us. It's like total yards, like counting stats. It's like, that's where you're going with this. Like, there's so much information, and not just that, but the committee actually tells you how the committee actually tells you how they come up with this.
Yeah.
That's why the guy, the Adam McClintock on Twitter, like that's how he's puts out his stuff and is saying, well, like, this is what the committee's going to do because they tell you what it is. And then he just puts it in a formula and it spits it out. And, he just kind of like, but it's like, oh, but here's the final score of, Miami's 38-7 win is better than Notre Dame's 37-15. Like, without knowing anything that happened. Like that. So Miami's a better football team because they threw a touchdown pass in the last 33 seconds of a 24-point game. And Notre Dame is worse because they gave up one up with 6 seconds left with backups in. Like that. Yeah. That's what you're saying? There's a difference there. So I don't know. More to the point of how Notre Dame is playing, though. So the game ratings. I'm a big game ratings guy in terms of, I just want to know how teams are playing, right? I want to know how teams are playing. So basically, and Brian Fremo, this is another Brian Fremo thing that he came up with, is it's, again, opponent adjusted possession efficiency, right? And he says 90% game rating is essentially, he said it's an arbitrary cutoff, but it basically shows how well is it playing a team playing at a playoff caliber level. How many times did they do so? So 90% is kind of where he puts it, right? So he says 90th percentile FEI game ratings versus FBS opponents through week 14. Ohio State hit it 9 times. Notre Dame hit it 8 times. Indiana, Oregon hit it 7 times. Miami, Texas, Texas Tech, and Utah hit it 6 times. Now, Alabama 5, Georgia 4. BYU 2, A&M 4, Oklahoma 4. Right? Here's the thing with that is it all tells the same story. Everything that you just said about the stats that the college football play, it was pretty clear that Notre Dame and Miami were of a different caliber than Oklahoma and Alabama. And this shows that as well. Notre Dame with 8 game ratings of 90th percentile. Miami with 6. Alabama with 5. BYU with 2. Like, they're not playing relative to the opponent. They're not playing that well. And this is what the chart shows. Like, the average game rating for Notre Dame is 91. Like, they are above the level, a 90th percentile on average. Right? Notre Dame, if you look at this chart, they have played a bad football game one time against Boston College. And then right after that, you can see on the dots here, they became one of the best teams in college football right after that, relative to their opponent. Right? So if you play poorly and win 31-7, it will show up in the data. That's not what Notre Dame did. They eviscerated teams. Ohio State, same kind of deal. Started slow, and then they just ran through their schedule. Indiana never really had like a porter. They had like one kind of subpar game, but they didn't have like one stinker this entire year. Georgia, they've had some stinkers. Texas Tech had one stinker and lost. Oregon didn't really have a stinker. Ole Miss had some bad games, 81%. Like, Ole Miss isn't that great of a team. Like, look at they barely have any 90th percentile victories or performances, right? Look at Miami. This is why. All this down here, this is why. These are bad games, and it's all around the same time. They played bad football for about a month, and it hurt them, right? Alabama, look at their baseline. It's just not very high. So for me, this is where it is. Like, this is how Notre Dame has been playing. You don't want them in, that's fine. They're a top 5 team. It is what it is, Jamie.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it all matches up with, what we're just talking about before too, right? Like, they've been playing at this level, this whole time for 10 weeks, basically. And they kept playing at the level, but it's like, and it's not, obviously too, even if you look at all these teams, they're all good. Like, most of the ones are above the line. It's not like even some of the ones who've had stinkers or whatever, right? Like, that's fine. But like, but when you look at, like, say, like the losses, and it's like how they played in the losses, like, I mean, I guess you could say that there's that Alabama, the Oklahoma loss where it's like, yeah, they shouldn't have lost that game, or they're right there, right where it's happening. But I mean, it is just stupid, like, to play at that level and then not be in. And you do have to look at, like, wow, this is broken if a team plays like that. And I totally get it. It's not like if this was like the top 4, even though Notre Dame has played like a top 4-ish team, like whatever, I totally get why Notre Dame wouldn't be in. Well, they lost 2 games.
They lost 2 games.
And that's it.
For sure.
And if they get left out too, right, it will come back to they lost the 2 games, and that's that. And even though that feels unfair after you won 10 straight and you played incredibly well and you're kicking the crap out of teams and all this kind of stuff, but then you'd look back and say, well, that's what cost them, is that. And then they needed just 1 or 2 more things to go their way, and it didn't. You're like, okay. But when other teams are getting in, that it's pretty clear that Notre Dame is better than them. Like, not even pretty clear. It's clear. It's clear that Notre Dame is better than them, which is the whole point of, like, at least I thought that's why Notre Dame was above a bunch of these teams before.
Right.
right? And that's why. So I actually, when they came out with the first rankings, I didn't expect Notre Dame to be ranked as high as they were, and I was like, whoa. So the committee is looking at that. They are really just like.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like I think Notre Dame's in a good spot, and it is kind of funny because Notre Dame did nothing to change anything they've done except for kick the crap out of the teams they're supposed to.
To be clear, after they got ranked where they did, they then upped their play to one of the best in college football, which is part of what the frustration is for Marcus Freeman yesterday when he was like, I don't get it. So please continue. I wanted to emphasize the point because they didn't just play well. They played better than kind of anyone in the country right now.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And so, I mean, I know it's like, I saw somebody in the comments to be like, at the committee or whatever, it's like, I mean, I don't think this, whatever work that I did is going to make a difference, or even if they are actually looking at these metrics make a difference. I think there's obviously other factors that go into it, and not just them looking at strength of schedule and whatever and other metrics.
For sure.
They're definitely doing like eye tests, and 100%. The reason, if you go back and you look at, John Bryce wrote the piece talking about the mock CFP that they did, right? Mm-hmm. And they did in the summer, and they took last year's results and they did it with this year's criteria. And one of the things was Alabama, who was the first out last year, got in over SMU. And basically everybody knows that Alabama got out last year because Clemson upset SMU in the ACC championship game. That bumped Alabama out. Well, guess what? If BYU beats Texas Tech this year and they kept Alabama behind Notre Dame, Alabama would have been the first out. And they just didn't want to do that again.
Yeah.
I'm sure that it was 100% the talking of like, well, they really got screwed last year.
They got screwed last year, or they got bumped last year. They can't get bumped again.
They can't get bumped again. And it's definitely not fair to Notre Dame, but that's 100% why they're doing it. That's why that changed, because they're giving that buffer to Alabama. So if Alabama loses by 17 points to Georgia, well, they can just bump them down one spot if they want. And if BYU wins, whatever, that's all they have to do. So no matter the result of Texas Tech and whatever, and even if they want to just say, okay, well, we want to make sure that, let's say they already decided, because everybody's always worried about like, well, are they going to do the head-to-head with Miami now? Maybe they will. I don't know. Like it's obviously pretty unpredictable, and it would be a total joke if they did it just at the very end and not take it into account, especially when no one else played. But maybe they will. But I think one of the things why they put BYU in between Miami there was because they're like, we want to make sure that there's a buffer for us to say we clearly think Notre Dame is better. So that's that. So if BYU doesn't win and Texas Tech wins, and then Alabama gets relatively blown out, we can move Alabama down and move Notre Dame up and not have to worry there's going to be another buffer there to say that it's going to be there. So I think that would be my guess of what is going through the minds of them talking out the scenarios of this week. Mm-hmm. Then again, I don't know if they'll just say, well, now Miami's in because it's head to head and whatever. And it's like, okay. And I believe me, like the unhinged guy from the Le Batard show that I never remember his name, but he's always unhinged. That guy, Chris Felica, Kevin Clark, Bruce Feldman, these Miami alums on there going off. I do think it's been hilarious how they've just overreacted. Chuck Todd. At the same time, I get it. Like Notre Dame fans would be incensed if this was the reverse situation. Mike Ruiz, thank you, Chris. Notre Dame fans would be incensed if it was the reverse.
Notre Dame's already been in this situation.
They have been in that situation.
It's already happened. So it's not a question of would be. I mean, they literally had a national championship taken away.
Yes.
So
because they were literally like, Bobby Bowden hasn't won one, so let's give it to him.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what happened.
Like that's what the deal is. So that's insane. And like I don't want to like get it lost either. Like this was going to happen in 2018 with Notre Dame and Michigan. It was. But Michigan went and lost. And so it was a moot point. It was going like everyone was for the same reason. Michigan was playing better than Notre Dame. Michigan was dominating and they were great and they had to jump Notre Dame. People were making the same argument. Like they were doing that. It was happening all the time. I don't want to miss this super chat from JL Audio. Crazy idea. What if Notre Dame eligible to play in the ACC championship game and not be a full-time member? Kind of how the COVID year was. Auto bid, problem solved. Would never happen, but especially given the current events would never happen. And they would have. First of all, that is completely unfair. Notre Dame is not in the conference.
Yeah.
Like that is completely, that would be insane. Like I would be like, whoa. Notre Dame cannot do this, by the way.
No.
It's like not cool in any way. So, I would.
That would be the opposite of what the ACC is doing right now. That would be the ACC being like, hey, can we kiss the ring here?
Yeah.
To make sure that you're happy. Like, no, and that wouldn't be fair either. I mean, really, the thing that's would have been fair would have been them. Hey, and I get that Duke would have been pissed off. They should have changed, knowing that this was a possibility. They should have changed the rule. Like they should have said, "Hey, we got to change this rule. Can we get enough schools to agree on it? And we don't need 100% unanimous things. That can we all agree?" Taking Duke out of it and taking Miami out of it, that if Duke is the one instead of Miami, that Miami should be in. And so we're not screwing the other two lost teams in the there. We're just looking at like, this kind of situation. If it's between Duke and Miami, they should take Miami there. Like, I think the Big 12 did something like that, like back when it was like Texas Tech and Crabtree or whatever, that they made up some rule to make it that Texas was in it or whatever. They did something of that time. Could have done that.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I thought you
Well, just could have done that. And then it was just like, okay, guess what? Miami is clearly the best team from the ACC. Like, it's not really close. Just based on all those other metrics. Because believe me, I didn't put in any stuff for Virginia. And I didn't, because it would be a waste of time.
Right.
They'd be a no on all of those championship things. They would be, way below them in all of these other categories. So it's just one of the, and whatever, throw in Georgia Tech, whoever, all of those teams would be just way, way below. Like, I think if you look at it, like, sorry, I'm just pulling up F plus right now. So Miami is 8th in F plus. The next ACC team is, oh man, SMU at 29. Like, that's a monstrous gap. I forgot you had that.
Well,
yeah.
No, but it only goes up to 15, so you wouldn't get them.
Yeah, but that's the next one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, would it be hard to make a rule? We're taking the highest ranked from a conference, and that team, if they're not the conference champion, gets the auto bid.
I think difficult?
Because especially when, like,
how about if a team isn't ranked in the top 50? Yeah, the top whatever. Like, that just seems it seems pretty easy just to do that. Change that rule, CFP. I think that's like, I don't even think that is I don't think that's insulting if your team actually isn't good enough to get in. It's like it's the whole reason why some of these teams want to get rid of the conference championship game altogether, because it could hurt your team.
Well,
the fact that exists and they just didn't say Miami is the champion, or they made it all a tie and they said, well, you can choose from one of these co-champions.
Duke's a 7-5 team playing for a spot in the playoff,
and they might not even get in, even if they win.
Like what is going on? This is insane. That's the deal. Like you said, if Notre Dame misses, they missed. Stop a fourth down. Have them call holding. Catch an extra point. It's unfortunate. They're a top 5 team. They just are. And I don't. It's unfathomable to me that a team, again, of this caliber, with Jeremiah Love, with CJ Carr, with Marcus Freeman, and the star power that they have, and the way that they've played, most importantly, the way that they've played, because they've played really well, and you can't deny it. You can make a case for Miami. Don't deny that Notre Dame isn't exactly what they are with all these metrics. You can't deny that. It just is what it is. And you can cry about schedule, and you can cry about, like this moron who's in the chat, like, weak USC. They're ranked freaking 16th. Like, let's go back to the F+, okay? Everyone talks about weak USC, right? They're 14th in F+. 14th in the country. Like,
it's the best USC team in a while.
Yeah. And the reason they're not ranked higher is because Notre Dame beat them.
Yeah.
like if USC had beat Notre Dame that day, they'd be in. They'd be in the playoff. So, I just don't, whatever. But these are stupid comments. But like I told the person in the chat, like, it is stupid. It's a stupid thing that you said, but like, that's the caliber of argument we're getting from national figures. That caliber of argument. When the coach of Miami, who goes up there and says USC, they haven't played an elite opponent. It's the top 15 in F+ is not an elite opponent now. Oh, okay. When Miami has played literally one all year, and they are not represented, not just in the CFP top 25, but also in the, like, all of the metrics as well. So, it is what it is. It's unfortunate. It drives me insane. I'm glad that it's ending on Sunday, because I'm tired of thinking about this. It gives me way too much anxiety. I have 3 children. I have enough anxiety as it is. If you want to burn off some of your anxiety in the meantime, then maybe you could try some pickleball. Go to H2 Pickleball, founded by Notre Dame alum Todd Hill. He's teaming with fellow alums Jack Gibbs and Will Howes, who's a top 10 pickleball pro, to bring Notre Dame fans to Notre Dame Pickleball Crew League. Besides football, what better way to connect and engage Notre Dame fans than through pickleball? Membership is free, and members will have access to special pickleball events and discounts. For information, contact Todd at h2pickleball.com. or call him at 574-339-5195 to join the league. Be sure to visit the H2 Pickleball facility in Mishawaka when you are in town. H2 Pickleball is located at 55801 Evergreen Plaza Drive in Mishawaka, Indiana. All right. This is normally we don't do predictions when there's no game. What happens here? What happens? Tell me. All right, I'll make a scenario. Bama wins. BYU loses. BYU loses by 14 points.
BYU loses by what? I mean, BYU loses by 14. Bama wins.
Bama wins.
Bama will move up to the top 4, which is stupid, but that's how it'll work.
That's the rules. Yeah.
They'll move up to the top 4. Or maybe not. Maybe they'll be 5 and get a home. I don't know. But like they'll probably move up to the top 4. They'll be 4th. And I think that Georgia will move down, but like they're obviously going to still stay ahead of Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll just be that Notre Dame is 10th and BYU lost by more than that to Texas Tech. They can't punish BYU and drop them down and say they are worse for it. Like, it just makes no sense to drop them down. Maybe actually, I wonder, this makes too much sense. Georgia at 7, Notre Dame at 10. Go to Athens. That's the game where they go to Athens and everybody else kind of moves up just one, essentially. I think like, just say Ohio State wins and then Indiana loses. Indiana moves to 3. Texas Tech moves to 2. Indiana 3. Bama 4. And it would be, who would be? Well, it would make Oregon 5. Ole Miss 6. Or no, Georgia or Ole Miss 6. Georgia 7. A&M 8. Oklahoma 9. Notre Dame 10. BYU 11. Miami 12.
And so then the auto bids go to, let's just say, Virginia and Tulane.
And yes.
So you don't think they would? You don't think the committee will bump Notre Dame for Miami?
I think they might, but like but if they do, it's just one of these things. It's like, I mean, all these. It's so funny how it's like the sports writers, like all these sports writers. It's like it's a very vocal minority, folks, because the AP and the coaches have all voted Notre Dame above Miami for weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
So, it will be something that, there's going to be outrage from it, but frankly, I think they'll be kind of happy with the outrage because they like it. It's like a good story kind of for it. And you just want to have, I do think they think about these kind of things. It's like they would rather have Notre Dame in the playoff than Miami. It'll draw better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Miami will jump Notre Dame. That's what I think. I think Notre Dame needs BYU and Bama to lose, because then they will move Bama to 10 and Notre Dame to 9.
Well, to be fair, I think Bama is going to lose. So that is.
I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. Like but I'm saying, if it's just BYU, I think Notre Dame's out. If it's Notre Dame, because they kept hedging. They could have very easily just said, "Hey, like, it is what it is. We have decided Notre Dame is the better football team, and they deserve to be in." And Notre Dame is the better football team than Miami. The seasons are over. The only thing that can happen now is Boise State can win the Mountain West and enhance Notre Dame's standing with the committee. And Notre Dame is already above them. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't think that if they already thought Notre Dame, if they weren't going to move Miami ahead, they would have already said, no, they're set. Miami and Notre Dame's positions are set, but they didn't. They didn't say that. And the fact is, and the reason they didn't say that is because if BYU loses, then they can move Miami to 11. Because here's the thing, right? Everyone's talking about, like you said, and I think Nicole Auerbach said, well, why is the assumption that Bama won't drop, but BYU will? Because BYU is currently not in if they're not an at-large. That's why it's different. And why does it matter if they go from 11 to 12? Especially if Bama, I think if they lose, will go from 9 to 10. Like, I think they'll drop a spot. I don't think they'll drop out of the playoff. That's why they did that. Because they can
Yeah, that's
drop
why they
a
did that.
spot.
So if
Yeah,
they did
they
it
can
so
drop.
that if Georgia wins by Georgia, I mean, and this has happened in some of these conference championship games where Georgia plays them and it's like, oh no, Georgia's putting it on them. They won by 30. And that's why, because if they would have done it and they were 10, they would have been forced to say, Bama, you're out. Because they've lost bad enough that it would have changed it. And this allows them to be like, well, they lost by 30. You're bumped down 1.
Yeah, they can. So they can move Bama a spot, and they will move BYU a spot. They will. I know they will.
I mean, the whole point is you're rooting for BYU to lose, and you're rooting for Alabama to lose. If you're Notre Dame, that's just what it is.
Here's the thing, right? That people need to. If Virginia loses, Notre Dame, I don't know that there's a scenario where Notre Dame makes it, because they will not freeze out the ACC altogether. They won't. That will not happen. There is no way that they will freeze out the ACC completely. I don't see how it would occur. It's one of those big conferences. It's not like the Big 12. It's different. And it's certainly not like the AAC or whatever. Like it is not like that. They will not. So I think if Duke wins, I don't think it. I think no matter what Alabama does, they will not drop 1 spot. And I think that if BYU loses, I think Miami will get that 10th spot.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. The thing is too, it's all stupid because just like we just spent a whole show talking about how Notre Dame is better than all these teams.
No. It's totally, but that's my point. It's like the reason I wanted to have the show is because this is the type of team. Like the reason that I wanted to have the show is because I wanted to highlight, like, when we say Notre Dame is a top, like I put on the thing, Notre Dame is a top 5 team. Like, I'm not saying that because it's my opinion. I'm saying that because there are multiple ways of looking at it that show you that. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And like, I was totally confident about, I've been confident this whole time. The committee is not getting rid of Notre Dame. They're too good. They're too good. You have Jeremiah Love. You have star power. You have offense. You have defense. Like, okay, I'll just throw up the chart here. We're going long, but I don't care. Like, we are. This is the EPA per play on offense, right? Top right is good. There's Notre Dame. Okay. Then you have Vanderbilt. Then you have USC. Then you have Oregon next to Notre Dame, and then you've got Texas A&M. Right? That's where it is.
Yeah.
EPA per play defense. There's Notre Dame again. Now you have a different set of teams with Notre Dame. You have Texas Tech, and you have Ohio State, and you have Oklahoma, and you have Louisville, and then Wake Forest and LSU, and then Miami a good bit back. Oregon drops out. Alabama drops out. USC drops out. Texas A&M drops out. Right? The Notre Dame is in the top right on both metrics. Right? So, like, that's the type of team that they're leaving out. Like, I have 2 minds of this, right? On the one hand, you cannot leave a team this good out of the playoff. You cannot, right? That's how I feel about it. That's kind of my worldview on it. Like, however people thought about, like, people were furious that Alabama got left out this year or last year. Notre Dame was a better football team than Alabama was last year, right? So there's that. And there's that part of my brain. The other part of my brain is they have left it, and they have left it sitting there for a reason, because when Miami and Notre Dame are next to each other, because here's the other part, right? We said it on this show. Miami has played playoff caliber. It'd be one thing if Miami was like of the BYU caliber, but they're not. And so I think it's easy for them to say, well, Miami also has a case to be in the playoff too. And I think they'll just flip them.
Maybe, I don't know.
So someone in the chat said, I'm scared. I'm always scared. I don't know why. I don't know that I'm always scared, but that's just my honest opinion. I don't know what to say. I wish I had like a better opinion about it. That's just how I feel. And I'm going off of what the behavior of the committee.
Oh, it's not. You can go off the behavior
because it's not irrational.
They change
exactly.
whatever, right? So it's like
the fact that they did that.
Just sorry to interrupt, but
no, you're good.
But exactly to your point, no one should expect anything, no matter what the results that you think that. Well, Boise State wins the MAC or the Mountain West, and BYU loses, and Georgia wins, blows them out, and this and that, whatever. And all these things happen. Don't expect anything.
Yeah.
Don't expect anything until they reveal the bracket and it says Notre Dame is in. You can't. You just can't.
And by the way, like I don't know how they would finagle it, right? I wouldn't put it past them to find a way to put Notre Dame in. This has been my other kind of theory for a long time, that they are going to find a way to get Notre Dame in this tournament. Just you can't have a tournament and a team that is fourth. And someone made a good point. They are fourth in the betting markets to win the national title, and they are going to choose to have them out of the tournament. And someone made the point, like they're fourth, they're tied with Alabama or tied with Georgia, and that's with them being on the bubble.
Yeah.
Like they're third in betting markets. The third most likely team.
Can you imagine that too? Just being
the third most likely team in the betting markets to win is someone that the committee opts to not put in the tournament. It doesn't stand to reason.
I want to hear some outrage, Bud Elliott.
He's the betting man.
It is one of these dumb things where it's like it's so funny because I was driving in the car and I had it on Sirius, the college sports channel, and there was a guy who was on with Neuheisel and Chris Childers, and he was like a betting guy, and he was talking about, and he's like Notre Dame, and he was just ripping on Notre Dame, and I was like, okay, and I'm like, and then I was like, oh, he's betting expert, and then he said, and then the truth came out. He bet the first half over on Notre Dame and it didn't hit. And I was like, oh my God, get this guy out of here. Get him out. Like, just because it's just so like, come on. That's all these guys care about.
Oh man. You know what would be sick? If Alabama won and then they had Notre Dame and Oklahoma next to each other again, and then the committee jumped Oklahoma for that would be sick. But that's like that's one of those things. That's one of those things that could happen. That they can do whatever they want.
They could literally just be like,
do whatever they want.
You know what? We looked at it again, and let's be honest. Notre Dame's better than Oklahoma. We didn't take a look at them, but we clustered them together.
Yeah, they were in a different cluster.
And Notre Dame's getting a home game, and they're hosting Oklahoma now. Like, that is just something that, I mean, it's the least likely scenario out of it, but it's wild enough that I could maybe believe that it could happen.
I think Ari saying the 15 national writers put him in a room. That might be one of the most insane tweets I've ever seen. Like, I can't believe it. Like, there's so many ways to argue for Miami, and that was just not it. Like, it's almost like this complete in a bubble thinking. Ban
this one dude who's just getting out here just of the
who is it?
Miami guy.
I haven't even noticed it. Well, we're gonna end the show anyway.
Yeah.
So you come back again, we'll ban you there. All right. That's going to do it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. If you liked that show, hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. So whatever it is, we are going live. When are we going live, Jamie? I mean, at the very least, Power Hour on
Monday. Yeah.
when do they announce the rankings?
Sunday night, I think.
Sunday night.
Sunday, maybe not Sunday night. Maybe Sunday. Maybe they do it. I think they might do it Sunday before the NFL games. I think that's what they've done, but I can't remember.
Maybe I should look this up real quick. When are the final rankings released? It will be 9 a.m. Well, that's not good for me. We can't do a show then. Maybe we'll do something. I mean, if Notre Dame's out, I'm probably not going to want to do anything. If they're in, maybe something Sunday night. We'll try to finagle a live show. We'll try to figure something out. If Notre Dame's out, I'll probably just wait for Power Hour. Probably just wait for Power Hour to talk about it. So, all right, but stay tuned to us. Head over to irishsportsdaily.com for any recruiting stuff and team stuff. And have a good weekend. Try to enjoy the games. Root hard for Texas Tech and Georgia. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Keep hitting and hustling.